Chapter 22. The sound of rain drumming on the roof of our house gently pulls me toward consciousness. I fight to return to sleep, though, wrapped in a warm cocoon of blankets, safe at home. I'm vaguely aware that my head aches. Possibly I have the flu, and this is why I'm allowed to stay in bed, even though I can tell I've been asleep a long time. My mother's hand strokes my cheek, and I don't push it away as I would in wakefulness, never wanting her to know how much I crave that gentle touch. How much I miss her even though I still don't trust her. Then there's a voice. The wrong voice. Not my mother's, and I'm scared. Katniss, it says. Katniss, can you hear me? My eyes open and the sense of security vanishes. I'm not home. Not with my mother. I'm in a dim, chilly cave, my bare feet freezing despite the cover, the air tainted with the unmistakable smell of blood. The haggard, pale face of a boy slides into view, and after an initial jolt of alarm, I feel better. Peeta? Hey, he says. Good to see your eyes again. How long have I been out? I ask. Not sure. I woke up yesterday evening and you were lying next to me in a very scary pool of blood. I think it stopped finally, but I wouldn't sit up or anything. I gingerly lift my hand to my head and find it bandaged. This simple gesture leaves me weak and dizzy. Peeta holds a bottle to my lips, and I drink thirstily. You're better, I say. Much better. Whatever you shot into my arm did the trick, he says. By this morning, almost all the swelling in my leg was gone. He doesn't seem angry about my tricking him, drugging him, and running off to the feast. Maybe I'm just too beat up, and I'll hear about it later when I'm stronger. But for the moment, he's all gentleness. Did you eat? I'm sorry to say, I gobbled down 3 pieces of that grusling before I realized it might have to last a while, and don't worry, I'm back on a strict diet, he says. No, it's good. You need to eat. I'll go hunting soon, I say. Not too soon, all right, he says. You just let me take care of you for a while. I don't really seem to have much choice. Peeta feeds me uh, bits of grusling and raisins and makes me drink plenty of water. He rubs some warmth back into my feet and wraps them in his jacket before tucking the sleeping bag back up around my chin. Your boots and socks are still damp and the weather's not helping much, he says. There's a clap of thunder and I see lightning electrify the sky through an opening in the rocks. Rain drips through several holes in the ceiling, but Peeta has built a sort of canopy over my head and upper body by wedging this square of plastic into the rock above me. I wonder what brought on the storm. I mean, who's the target? Says Peeta. Cato and Thrush, I say without thinking. Foxface will be in her den somewhere, and Clove. She cut me, and then my voice trails off. I know Clove's dead. I saw her in the sky last night, he said. Did you kill her? No. Thrush broke her skull with a rock, I say. Lucky he didn't catch you too, says Peeta. The memory of the feast returns full force, and I feel sick. He did, but he let me go. And then, of course, I have to tell him about the things I've kept to myself because he was too sick to ask, and I wasn't ready to relive anyway. Like the explosion in my ear, and Rue's dying, and the boy from District 1, and the bread. All of which leads to what happened with Thrush, and how he was paying off a debt of sorts. He let you go because he didn't want to owe you anything? Asked Peeta in disbelief. Yes, I don't expect you to understand it. You've always had enough, but if you lived in the seam, I wouldn't have to explain, I say. And don't try. Obviously, I'm too dim to get it. It's like the bread. How I never seem to get over owing you for that, I say. The bread? What? From when we were kids? He says. I think we can let that go. I mean, you just brought me back from the dead. But you didn't owe me. We had never even spoken. Besides, it's the first gift that's always the hardest to pay back. I mean, I wouldn't even have been here to do it if you hadn't helped me then. Why did you anyway? Why? You know why? Peeta says. I give my head a slight and painful shake. Hamish said you would take a lot of convincing. Hamish? What's he got to do with it? Nothing, Peeta says. So, Cato and Thresh, huh? I guess it's too much to hope that they'll simultaneously destroy each other. The thought only upsets me. I think we would have liked Thresh. I think he'd be our friend back in District 12, I say. Then, let's hope Cato kills him, so we don't have to, says Peeta grimly. I don't want Cato to kill Thresh at all. I don't want anyone else to die. But this is absolutely not the kind of thing that victors go around saying in the arena. Despite my best efforts, I can feel tears starting to pool in my eyes. Peeta looks at me in concern. What is it? Are you in a lot of pain? I give him another answer because it is equally true but can be taken as a brief moment of weakness instead of a terminal one. I want to go home, Peeta, I say plaintively, like a small child. You will, I promise, he says, and bends over to give me a kiss. I want to go home now, I say. Tell you what, you go back to sleep and dream of home, and you'll be there for real before you know it, he says. Okay? Okay, I whisper. Wake me if you need me to keep watch. I'm good and rested, thanks to you and Hamish. Besides, who knows how long this will last, he says. What does he mean? The storm? The brief respite it'll bring us? The games themselves? I don't know. But I'm sad and too tired to ask. It's evening when Peeta wakes me again. The rain has turned to a downpour, sending streams of water through our ceiling, where earlier there had been only drips. Peeta has placed the broth pot under the worst one and repositioned the plastic to deflect most of it from me. I feel a bit better, able to sit up without getting too dizzy, and I'm absolutely famished. So is Peeta. It's clear he's been waiting for me to wake up to eat, and is eager to get started. There's not much left, 2 pieces of grusling, a small mishmash of roots, and a handful of dried fruit. Should we try and ration it? Peeta asks. Nope, let's just finish it. The grusling's getting old anyway, and the last thing we need is to get sick of spoiled food, I say. Dividing the food into 2 equal piles, we try and eat slowly. But we're both so hungry we're done in a couple of minutes. My stomach is in no way satisfied. Tomorrow's a hunting day, I say. I won't be much help with that, Peeta says. I've never hunted before. I'll kill, and you cook, and you can always gather. I wish there was some sort of bread bush out there, says Peeta. The bread they sent me from District 11 was still warm, I say with a sigh. Here, chew these. I hand him a couple of mint leaves and pop a few in my own mouth. It's hard to even see the projection in the sky, but it's clear enough to know there were no more deaths today. So Cato and Thresh haven't had it out yet. Where did Thresh go? I mean, what's on the far side of the circle? Asked Peeta. A field. As far as you can see, it's full of grasses as high as my shoulders. I don't know, maybe some of them are grain. There are patches of different colors, but there are no paths, says Peeta. I bet some of them are grain. I bet Thresh knows which ones too. Did you go in there? No. Nobody really wanted to track Thresh down in that grass. It has a sinister feeling to it. Every time I look at that field, all I can think of are hidden things. Snakes and rabid animals and quicksand. There could be anything in there. I don't say so, but Peeta's words remind me of the warnings they give us about not going beyond the fence in District 12. I can't help for a moment comparing him with Gale, who would see that field as a potential source of food as well as a threat. Thresh certainly did. It's not that Peeta's soft exactly, and he's proved he's not a coward, but there are things you don't question too much. I guess when your home always smells like baking bread, whereas Gale questions everything. What would Peeta think of the irreverent banter that passes between us as we break the law each day? Would it shock him? The things we say about Panem? Gale's tirades against the Capitol? Maybe there is a bread bush in that field, I say. Maybe that's why Thresh looks better fed now than when we started the games. Either that, or he's got very generous sponsors, says Peeta. I wonder what we'd have to do to get Hamish to send us some bread. I raise my eyebrows before I remember he doesn't know about the message Hamish sent us a couple of nights ago. 1 kiss equals 1 pot of broth. It's not that sort of thing I can blurt out either. To say my thoughts aloud would be tipping off the audience that the romance has been fabricated to play on their sympathies, and that would result in no food at all. Somehow, believably, I've got to get things back on track. Something simple to start with. I reach out and take his hand. Well, he probably used up a lot of resources helping me knock you out, I say mischievously. Yeah, about that, says Peeta, entwining his fingers in mine. Don't try something like that again. Or what? I ask. Or... He can't think of anything good. Just give me a minute. What's the problem? I say with a grin. The problem is we're both still alive, which only reinforces the idea in your mind that you did the right thing, says Peeta. I did do the right thing. No, just don't, Katniss. His grip tightens, hurting my hand, and there's real anger in his voice. Don't die for me. You won't be doing me any favors, all right? I'm startled by his intensity, but recognize an excellent opportunity for getting food. So, I try to keep it up. Maybe I did it for myself, Peeta. Did you ever think of that? Maybe you aren't the only one who worries about what it would be like if... I fumble. I'm not as smooth with words as Peeta, and while I was talking, the idea of actually losing Peeta hit me again, and I realized how much I don't want him to die. And it's not about the sponsors, and it's not about what will happen back home, and it's not just that I don't want to be alone. It's him. I do not want to lose the boy with the bread. If what, Katniss? He says softly. I wish I could pull the shutters closed, blocking out this moment from the prying eyes of Panem, even if it means losing food, whatever I'm feeling, if no one else's business but mine. That's exactly the kind of topic Hamish told me to steer clear of, I say evasively, although Hamish never said anything of the kind. In fact, he's probably cursing me out right now for dropping the ball during such an emotionally charged moment. But Peeta somehow catches it. Then I'll just have to fill in the blanks myself, he says, and moves in to me. This is the first kiss that we're both fully aware of. Neither of us hobbled by sickness or pain or simply unconscious. Our lips neither burning with fever or icy cold. This is the first kiss where I actually feel stirring inside my chest, warm and curious. This is the first kiss that makes me want another. But I don't get it. Well, I do get a second kiss, but it's just a light one on the tip of my nose because Peeta's been distracted. I think your wound is bleeding again. Come on, lie down. It's bedtime anyway, he says. My socks are dry enough to wear now. I make Peeta put his jacket back on. The damp cold seems to cut right down to my bones, so he must be half frozen. I insist on taking the first watch, too, although neither of us think it's likely anyone will come in this weather. But he won't agree unless I'm in the bag, too. And I'm shivering so hard that it's pointless to object. In stark contrast to 2 nights ago, when I felt Peeta was a million miles away, I'm struck by his immediacy now. As we settle in, he pulls my head down to use his arm as a pillow. The other rests protectively over me, even when he goes to sleep. No one has held me like this in such a long time. Since my father died, and I stopped trusting my mother, no one else's arms have made me feel this safe. With the aid of the glasses, I lie watching the drips of water splatter on the cave floor. Rhythmic and lulling. Several times I drift off briefly, and then snap awake, guilty and angry with myself. After 3 or 4 hours, I can't help it. I have to rouse Peeta because I can't keep my eyes open. He doesn't seem to mind. Tomorrow, when it's dry, I'll find us a place so high in the trees we can both sleep in peace, I promise as I drift off. But tomorrow is no better in terms of weather. The deluge continues as if the game makers are intent on washing us all away. The thunder is so powerful it seems to shake the ground. Peeta's considering heading out anyway to scavenge for food. But I tell him in this storm it would be pointless. He won't be able to see 3 feet in front of his face, and he'll only end up getting soaked to the skin for his troubles. He knows I'm right, but the gnawing in our stomachs is becoming painful.